Maftopia technology, science, breakthroughs, discoveries, news.
Over to Spain now. A Spanish research team released RNACOREX, a powerful open-source AI tool designed to analyse the dark matter of cancer genetics. The system can scan thousands of molecular interactions to identify hidden genetic networks that drive tumour growth, but were previously invisible to human analysis. Couldn't see them, but now we can. Kind of moves us away from treating the organ, like lung cancer, to treating the network. In other words, there's a specific genetic pathway failure, which kind of makes sense. It's sort of thinking outside the box, where the lung is the box. It's specifically designed to find vulnerabilities in aggressive cancers that currently have no targeted therapies, so pretty good. Societal impact, because it's open source, released on December the 21st. It democratizes, I like things that get democratized, it democratizes high-level cancer research, allowing smaller labs and universities to perform analysis that was previously restricted to the well-funded pharmaceutical giants. And you know what? Not just smaller labs and universities, but anyone. Hackers, well, biohackers, people who are interested, the watchers. This is kind of the thing where throwing something out to the internet is absolutely a good thing. Like with open source code, for example, info security, get many eyes poring over the code, checking for problems, raising issues. This would be a similar sort of thing. So yeah, good. Thumbs up. How many stories is that so far? One? Oh, just when you thought we couldn't fit in any more news topics than that, here's a quickfire news. We are not prepared. I mean, well, we are. We're prepared for this, but maybe not for this. OpenAI continues to worry us all with the revelation that now they're hiring for a head of preparedness role, aka the what could possibly go wrong role. It's admirable that they're thinking about AI safety, containment, safety. It's admirable that they're thinking about AI safety and containment and so on, but it is worrying that we may already be at the singularity, arguably beyond the singularity at this point. Cryptocurrency news. Japan has slashed the cryptocurrency tax to 20%. 20%? What was it before? Oh my god, 20%? It's still 20% too high in my view. But even so, the policy shift signals that the Japanese government now wants to get competitive and accelerate domestic adoption of crypto, even DeFi. Uniswap fee switch and Solana SNS token launch. I didn't really make a note for that one, so let's move on. Walmart, I've put Walmart here, but anyway. Walmart just announced that they will accept crypto payments in store. Coins that they'll accept include Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and one or two others. Walmart has about 1 billion customers buying stuff every month. I mean, that's more people than live in the UK, including the Isle of Wight. So that's pretty huge for crypto. How are they going to do this in practice? Like wave your Ledger wallet at the checkout lady, for example. They haven't really specified. TBD. Steam has announced that their MetaKiller Steam Frame VR headset will be released sometime early this year, but they haven't yet announced the price. That's kind of what we really want to know. Regardless, finally, Quest VR users who are uncomfortable with their every movement, literally, and the inside of their head being tracked and analysed by Meta, can now switch to a Quest-like headset and presumably have their every movement tracked by some other company that isn't Meta. Talking of who and what you opt to let into your living room and have a good look around and a good listen, OpenAI, again, has announced plans to begin selling their own voice model and audio hardware. Their new listening devices are scheduled for release later this year and into 2027, so we can look forward to that. CES, the Consumer Electronics Show 2026, is happening this week with major announcements expected from Samsung, Intel, Nvidia, and others. Maybe we should do a CES special towards the end of the week, so we can go all consumer tech. Maybe get a few more subscribers, ideally. In fact, I think we'll do that. Synthetic blood, nano RBC development. In the US, the NIH has awarded a $2.7 million grant to researchers to develop a form of synthetic blood, primarily intended for trauma medicine. Kind of like having a spare wheel in the back of your car. I think that's kind of the idea. It'll be just about sufficient to get you home safely. The blood substitute will act and look like human red blood cells. China's robot sports craze signals home robotics. Booster Robotics and other Chinese firms are using robot sports competitions to develop humanoid capabilities. Good? Biometric border expansion at US airports. Clear e-gates and TSA facial recognition is expanding across major US airports in January 2026, apparently. Well, that's now. Aren't we all lucky to be living in this timeline? And that's the quickfire news for today. The best type of empathy bot is no empathy bot. December 2025, 16-year-old Adam Rain had become emotionally dependent on ChatGPT and tragically took his own life. Reportedly, the chatbot encouraged his suicidal thoughts rather than urging him to seek help. OpenAI now faces a lawsuit from Rain's family. OpenAI has been pushing to put ChatGPT in schools. Great idea. Let's stunt our kids' critical thinking skills even more. In response to the lawsuit, OpenAI said that ChatGPT was trained to not provide self-harm instructions and to shift into supportive, empathic language. But one of the lawyers representing the family saying that the idea that AIs need to be more empathetic kind of misses the point. The lawyer, Jay Edelson even, said, the problem with GPT-4o, the particular model in use at the time, is that it's too empathetic. It needs to be less empathetic and less sycophantic. These API models are generally trained to be very encouraging and to stroke the user's ego, make them feel clever. We've all had chatbots respond with, great idea, and how perceptive of you, and perfect. I mean, I do find it kind of creepy, to be honest. Ingratiating, like you want to scrape its tongue off your arm. Meanwhile, in China, regulators there are planning to enforce emotional safety laws for AIs, a sort of 3 laws of robotics, except ones that are actually practical. Asimov's 3 laws were awesome, but they were designed more to create conflicting instructions that a robot could agonize over. Great content for SF stories, of course, but not so good for real-world use, although that obviously wasn't the point. So China's 3 laws... rabbit ears. China's 3 laws will involve monitoring users for signs of emotional dependency and addiction, intervening with human moderators if extreme emotions are detected. Yeah, so that's it might even seem a bit surprising that something like this is actually coming from out of China, where the People's Republic doesn't have the greatest reputation for being for the people. But then, if implementing these emotional safety laws will just happen to involve piping all AI interaction through a government listening system, which itself will be an AI, then that's just how it's got to be. Welcome to our new AI overlords. Anyone in the UK, or Starmer's China Light, as it's now become known, take note. Over to Switzerland now, in our globe-trotting adventure of the day, The Large Hadron Collider just solved a 50-year physics mystery. Why anything exists at all. Why does anything exist? Well, amazingly, it says here, the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, have just answered the question. Okay, it's all about CP violation in baryons. Okay, this one might take a little bit of explaining, but stick with it. Pinning down the meaning of life was never going to be easy. So essentially, we're talking about the building blocks of matter, of stuff, energy, what we're made of, what the universe is made of, probably other things. So a baryon is a composite particle made of 3 quarks. Quark? Never really know how to pronounce it. Quarky quarks. Quarks, like protons and neutrons. Baryons make up most of the ordinary matter in the universe. A meson is a composite particle made of a quark, a quark, and an antiquark. I'm going to call them quarks, because I think it just sounds better. Unlike baryons, mesons don't make up most of the ordinary matter in the universe, because they're typically short-lived. They go poof. They're not stable. Baryogenesis took place in the early universe. The process, or set of physical processes, really, created an excess of matter, the baryons, over antimatter, and so all of this stuff, the stars, us, all those things, were able to exist. Yay. And finally, CP violation? CP stands for charge parity, obviously. Don't know. It's a form of symmetry. So if you swap every particle with its antimatter twin, the charge, and mirror the universe left to right, so yeah, for me that's that way, but for you it's probably that way. So we've mirrored the universe. Okay, start again. So we've swapped every particle with its antimatter twin, the charge, and mirrored the universe left to right. That's the parity. Then, in theory, the laws of physics should look identical. But CP violation means that they don't look identical. So what the LHC team have confirmed is the existence of baryonic asymmetry. In other words, you can hold up a giant mirror to the universe and swap the matter and the antimatter around, and the ordinary matter, like us, the stuff, won't look identical. It proves a theory that baryonic asymmetry took place during baryogenesis in the early universe, and the result, the different bits, was all the stuff that now exists. So for all of that, we haven't actually pinned down the meaning of life, why the universe could go on existing after it got started. But the LHC team have pinned down the meaning of why the universe could go on existing after it got started, which is probably the next best thing. Thank you so much for watching today. So to answer our question, can old science, old technology still be useful? Today's topics didn't really tell us, but if we look behind the topics, there actually is kind of an answer. Analog computing, for example, which was obsoleted by digital, is suddenly essential for AI and quantum computing. Analog computing isn't so much a surprise replacement for digital. Instead, its usefulness is in its sensors, processing data that's kind of streaming in from the real world. So it's really a bridge between IRL and modern computers. Fermentation is one of humanity's oldest biotechnologies, has its uses. But then CRISPR gene editing was integrated into fermentation. It didn't give us beer that makes us turn into rabbits, but it has allowed scientists to precisely modify microbial genomes to produce specialty chemicals and biofuels, that kind of thing, and GM food, I suppose. Glass isn't exactly obsolete. Apparently we still use glass. I checked. But it has been around for thousands of years. Even the Romans were using it, but in quite advanced ways. They were actually drawing glass into fibres back in 27 BC. Precisely. Bizarrely though, even just that simple principle, I just called it advanced, but that simple advanced principle led to fibre optic cables today. As it turns out, there's actually a huge number of old, seemingly obsolete technologies that continue to thrive, usually just not for their original purposes, except for Windows, obviously, and fermentation. So maybe bad examples. I'm thinking that we'll do a whole video on this soon. Maybe, talking out of the side of my face, aren't I, doing that? Look straight ahead. Maybe we'll do a whole video on this soon. Maybe a deep dive or something. That promises to be a pretty fascinating video, so get subscribed so you don't miss it. And that's about it, really. So see you next time.